Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my October 2023 reading wrap-up. If you're not already aware, I do weekly entertainment wrap-ups of everything I read, watch, and listen to, but today we're just talking about the books. I'm going to start with my nerdy hardcore stats and charts and then get into what I read. Also, I put chapter markers in all of my videos, so if you need to revisit anything or if you need to skip over anything, even though I do my best not to give you spoilers, all of that is down below. On the way down to that, please make sure that you are subscribed to this channel if you're interested in seeing more of these types of videos from me and other types of videos as well. And the description has a wealth of interesting things in it. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I try to always be perfectly honest with you. I really don't feel like filming today, and it's partially because it's the gross time of year where everything starts being gross weather-wise. Even when it's really sunny, the fact that I wake up when it's dark is enough to make my day just not that great. So when you add into that the fact that I've already released a couple of other videos this week, but I have to do this one because it's obviously a timely manner, and the fact that my camera is being a piece of absolute garbage and will probably record for about 6 minutes, and then after that it will probably record for about a minute at a time. So the filming of this video is probably going to be about 10 different video clips that I then need to put together, and also realize that the camera has stopped filming so I don't have to say things. I didn't even get through my intro before it cut off. This is gonna suck. Basically, I need to make sure that my camera stays on at all times so that I can not have to say things more than once. And sometimes it's really good at that because it just literally shuts off and I can tell it's off, and sometimes it just stops recording and I don't have a viewfinder, so I can't tell when it does that. All of that being said, I'm going to do my best, and I'm sorry ahead of time if any of this is not as great as it could be. In October, I read 12 things for a total of 4,189 pages. That takes into account converting audiobook minutes to pages, so 1,774 of those were actually about 60 hours of audio. The age breakdown for these books was 6 adult books, 4 YA books, and 2 middle grade books. I read 8 novels and 4 graphic novels. This month was mostly fantasy and historical fiction, followed by contemporary, mystery, thriller, and romance. If you adjust by page numbers, not much changes. The biggest chunk of these books were from the library, but I did read one each from an author, a publisher, and NetGalley. I read 4 audiobooks, 4 ebooks, 3 paperbacks, and 1 hardcover. The biggest chunk of my books were in the 300 to 399 page range, and all but one were published since 2020. Most of the authors were female, and most of the protagonists were female. In terms of setting, most were set in the US or other worlds, with 1 each from Japan and Canada. In terms of diversity of subject matter, a bunch were queer or intersectional, others had to do with race, feminism, or were translated, and a couple had no diversity to speak of. In terms of star ratings, this month I had 1 0-star read, which we'll discuss in a moment, 1 2-star read, 1 3-star read, 2 4-star reads, 5 4.5-star reads, and 2 5-star reads. Let's start with the lowest rated read and work our way up to the highest, shall we? Now you're probably wondering, what could have been so freaking terrible that I gave it 0 stars? Because typically I try not to read anything below a 3-star because I don't want to read things that I'm not going to enjoy, because I read for enjoyment mostly. However, 0 stars is what I'm giving to this unnamed Wednesday or St. Martin's Press book that I was reading at the time that the boycott started, and I didn't realize it was one of their titles until I actually finished the book. Were I to give this an actual star rating, I would have rated it fairly highly. I was very much enjoying it, but St. Martin's Press and Wednesday Books still haven't addressed the boycott in any way whatsoever or met any of the very, very simple demands, and for that reason I will not be reviewing this title. I will leave information down below about this if you haven't heard of it already. On to my 2-star read, and trust me, I would have DNF'd this one if I had the chance, but it got morbid to the point where it was just like, can we just finish this 22-hour audiobook that you're making me listen to at regular speed? This book was Killing Commendatore. This book is incredibly repetitive. The character in this book can't stop talking about everyone's boobs, including the ones that belong to small children, including his long-dead sister who died when she was about 12. Additionally, listening to a lot of this was really boring. It could have been way less page count, and I just did not enjoy this experience outside of the fact that Chad and I were listening to it on a road trip and making fun of it the whole time because that was the only way we were going to get through it. On to my 1 3-star read for the month. That was What We Kept to Ourselves. This one is sort of a family saga in that we see some of these characters through the different time frames and in different places, but the majority of the plot takes place in the present, where a family's mother has been missing for about a year, and one day this man is found dead on their property and he has a letter addressed to their mother, and they're trying to figure out how this is connected. If you're anything like me, you think that this premise is very interesting and you want to know more, but overall I just found the plot really dragged a bit. There were some really good things in here. There were people talking about the immigrant experience, talking about other minorities when you move to a new location, talking about being the child of immigrants and how that is completely different. And there was also some queer content in here, so it was good to see all of those, but ultimately I just don't think the plot of this book was written in a way that was really for me, and that's perfectly okay. On to my 4-star reads, we first have Mall Goth. This is a graphic novel by Kate Leth. I really have enjoyed their work in the past, and I'm really hoping they continue to put out graphic novels because I really enjoy their work. This one takes place in the early 2000s, and our titular character has just moved to a small town with her mother, and she spends a lot of time at the mall. 1, because her mother works in or around the mall, and 2, because she ends up getting a job there. She's also experiencing these things at school where she's meeting new people and whether or not she should trust them, and then also she is being groomed by a teacher. Over Instant Messenger of all things, which really hit me hard because 1, this character is bisexual, growing up in the early 2000s, being groomed by a man 2 decades her senior over Instant Messenger, and oh yeah, that sounds a lot like me. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I was never actually assaulted by this person, thank goodness, but what he was doing was not okay. And what the teacher in this book was doing is also not okay. Needless to say, this ended up being really relatable to me, but I also very much enjoyed just the art style of it and also the story overall. This month I also finished the In Ash series by reading A Destiny in Ash. This is the 3rd in the trilogy. This is the last of the trilogy and definitely the spiciest book in the trilogy. There's not too much I can tell you about this book's plot because obviously you need to know the plot from the first 2 books and I don't want to wreck anything for you, but just so you get an idea for this series, it's mostly about this girl named Ash. She is a witch. She can go between fairy and our world, and then she has bonds with a couple of different guys. One of them is a fae prince and one of them ends up being her Ravdi, who is basically somebody a witch has a magical bond with, and it's not something they can actually control. Like, you just, if you meet your Ravdi, you find out that's your Ravdi, and that's just a whole thing. I'm not explaining it super well, but if you're into a book series where there isn't just a love triangle but there's a throuple situation, this is definitely one to look at. On to my 4.5-star reads, the first one being the Tea Dragon Tapestry. This is also the 3rd in this series of really adorable graphic novels about these characters who are the caretakers to tea dragons, which are these cute little dragons that grow the components for tea on top of their head. The series is very inclusive of queer folks, of people with disabilities, of different types of people, and it's just so cute, so heartwarming, so lovely. If I had to nitpick, I'd say that the one thing about this that I don't really understand is how we got to this title, because yes, there is a tapestry in this, but that was kind of a subplot to what was actually going on, but it does make for a really good title, so I can understand going for it. Next we have 2 middle grade graphic novels that I'm going to talk about together because they are both in the same series and they concern the same characters and they're really adorable and I really loved them. This is Garlic and the Vampire and Garlic and the Witch. These are just so cute. Our titular character, Garlic, is actually anthropomorphized garlic, like used to be garlic and then a witch used some magic and then suddenly has these little helpers in the garden. So there's Garlic who's actually harvesting garlic that isn't sentient, and Carrot is harvesting carrots, and so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden one day they realize that the spooky castle on the hill might actually have somebody in it and that somebody could be a vampire, and who should they send to deal with the vampire? Obviously Garlic. But of course there's a twist and it goes from there. The second novel is also really cute, and because it has to deal with things from the first novel, I don't want to tell you all about it, but it's just so adorable. I really like these books and I really want there to be more of them, but with the way this one ended, I don't know if the author is going to do more, and that makes me a little bit sad because I want to see more. This month I also listened to In My Hand I Hold a Knife. This one concerns a woman who is going to a college get-together for their 10-year anniversary of graduation, and she's going to see most of her friend group from that time she hasn't seen for a while. However, there's a few people that definitely won't be there. One of their friend group actually died while they were there, so obviously that person will not be in attendance. Additionally, a lot of people think somebody else did it from their friend group, and that person will not be in attendance either. And she's probably going to have to see her ex, who is seeing somebody else, which is gonna be awkward. In this book, we jump between the present and the past and seeing what these relationships were like and how this person ended up dying, and trying to figure out what what eventually happened to her. I really enjoyed this one. It was twisty, it was turny, I was just trying to figure out who could have possibly done it, and there was enough just like pivoting at right moments that I didn't even consider who did it for the reasons that I should have considered it, if that makes any sense, being very vague, obviously. This month I also read The Spirit Bears Its Teeth. This is a historical fiction that is also fantasy, that is set in this England-like world where people go to boarding schools and that type of stuff. It's kind of that era of thing. However, in this world, people that have purple eyes are very revered because of this certain magical quality they have. And because of this and the social norms of this time frame, if you're a woman with purple eyes, you are going to get married off at the first possibility to a family that can afford to pay a dowry for you, because people really want their offspring to have purple eyes. Our main character is Silas, a trans boy with purple eyes, who is not being allowed to live his most authentic life and is sent to a school for girls who are experiencing signs of basically this world's version of hysteria. There's lots to do with medical trauma and murder and covering things up and not valuing people as human beings, and this was really good and really relevant, and you can tell it was very well researched for the medical aspects of it, even though it was then put into this fantasy world. On to my 5-star reads, the first one being Plan A by Deb Coletti. This book is an abortion road trip love story. Essentially, we have a main character who finds herself in need of an abortion, which is not legal in the place where she lives, which is Texas, by the way, so she finds herself taking a vacation to go see her grandmother in a different state. Along the way, she has her new boyfriend. It is not his child, and you find out all of that as you read the book, and he could get in trouble just for going with her. This is obviously incredibly relevant for the landscape of what's happening in the States when it comes to reproductive rights, and it was fantastic, and I absolutely think it's worth reading. Finally, the last book on this list and my favorite thing for the month was The Dead Romantics. This is a book about a woman who is a ghostwriter for a very popular author, but she finds herself not wanting to write romance anymore because she had her heart broken. In addition to this, she can't really go back to her small town because there she's known as the girl that solved a murder by talking to the murder victim's ghost. This has layers upon layers upon layers of ghost in it, and I absolutely adore that because it was done so very well. I would go on about this, but my camera has stopped recording so many times while I've been sitting here, and I just can't bring myself to do that anymore. So if you want to hear me talk more about these books, or other books for that matter, the playlist of my weekly entertainment wrap-ups is always linked down below. If you've read any of these, or you're planning to read any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment, but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so maybe I can get a new camera. I've already ordered a new camera battery, so let's see how that's going to go. And if you're one of those people, I did set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon.